One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Good afternoon, everybody, on a, what is today? Today's Wednesday. On a Wednesday afternoon. How you guys doing? So, as you can see by the thumbnail, I'm not sure if everybody saw the thumbnail, but this is the thumbnail of today's video. I just want you guys to take a look at it. And it's about the EBT, the swarm of the EBT queens and guys. So before I begin, let me go ahead and preface what I'm about to say. I got a long, lengthy email from one of the viewers here, a woman who has been here for quite some time. She says she's been watching for 2 years, and yesterday she felt offended because I hit hard last night about EBT. And she told me about her personal endeavor and how she got divorced and then she got sick and she had to go on EBT. And then she ended the email, which basically was the exclamation point on what I was saying yesterday, but she didn't realize that she was giving me the exclamation point. She said she got divorced, she got sick, and then she got a job and she wasn't on EBT anymore. And I'm like, that's exactly what I was talking about. I'm not talking that people who go on EBT are losers. I don't think people who have to utilize the crutch of the government are losers. I'm talking about those people who have considered EBT and every other welfare program as their lifestyle. That is a huge difference. If something happens, if there's some adverse situation in your life and you need a hand up, well, you know what? You need a hand up. That's what it's there for. It's supposed to be in case of fire, break glass. You need some help. You've exhausted all your other opportunities. I need the government to help me while I get back on my feet. See, most people, well, maybe most people who are on the program don't understand that's all it was supposed to be. A bridge a bridge from where you are now to where you need to be. They've just said, hey, you know what? It's pretty nice on this shore. We're just going to plant a tent here and just stay here forever, which is completely wrong. I want to share something with you with that being said. That I think prefaces what I'm about to talk about today. I don't usually preface too much what I'm talking about, but I want people to really understand what I mean, and I'm not coming off as flippant in terms of regards to people who actually need help. I want you to take a look at this and for yourself, in case nobody has ever explained it to you, that you can see it without any doubt whatsoever. The SNAP program, as it is now called, versus food stamps, the history of it traces back to, and I highlighted, the first temporary program in 1939, which helped distribute surplus food, extra food, during the Great Depression. It wasn't supposed to be a grocery store. It was a temporary program to distribute surplus food. After this program ended in 1943, a permanent nationwide program was established in 1964 with the Food Stamp Act. And now it starts getting really interesting. Then they, of course, as you know, went to EBT cards instead of paper stamps, because paper stamps made people's feelings. It made them feel less. So now they have a card that they swipe just like everybody else does. Here's from 1939 to 1943, the first temporary program launched in the Great Depression to combat food surpluses and poverty. This program was funded by the government. Participants bought orange stamps for groceries and received blue stamps for free, which could only be used on surplus food items like butter, eggs, and cornmeal. Why don't we go back to that? Why don't we say you can have as much butter, eggs, and cornmeal as you can eat? Seems we've gone a long way past what this program was supposed to be. Way past it. Then in the 1960s, a series of pilot programs began to test the effectiveness of the program in a new format, this time without the requirement of purchasing surplus goods. Let's make it anything in the store, pretty much. Then in 1964, here comes Lyndon Johnson, the Great Society Initiative. The program was expanded significantly in the following years, and it exploded into 15 million participants by 1974. In case you haven't looked on the calendar, it's 2025. It ballooned to 15 million people in 1974, and in the 50 years since then, what was supposed to be a hand up, help out people, has turned into a lifestyle that you and I have to pay for. Well, I think it's time for us to stop paying. I think we should give them all the eggs and cornmeal that they can possibly eat. You get your protein from your eggs, you get your carbs from the bread that you make, and have at it, because it's supposed to be temporary. Lyndon Johnson effed up this country something awful, and he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what part of the, population was going to gravitate to this free stuff. And in 50 years, it has become a staple in that, for the most part, in that certain segment demographic of our population, to the point where it's counted on. I'm not saying exclusively in that population, but you know what I'm saying. And now we're at a point in 2025 where the doors are about to blow off. The Democrats made a huge mistake, a giant miscalculation, going out on strike essentially, and saying F you to the president. Meanwhile, you are beholden to the president to continue the programs that you just walked away from. And now you're freaking out because he's like slash, 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 slash. And what's happening is people aren't liking it whatsoever. Oh, I want to show you something. Here we go. Listen to this.
American people first. I mean,
But
the fact that
none
you
of that on
want...
the Democrat. I mean, again, and I understand the math in the Senate. I understand the healthcare position from the Democrats. No responsibility on the Democrats, or at least you don't think that the public will perceive that the Democrats are responsible.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible, and of course there will be, you know, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously.
If they take that responsibility very seriously, because they need that leverage, why don't we make sure that everybody who's complaining about the EBT programs going south, let them know that the Democrats realize, yeah, there's got to be some pain, but we need this for leverage. How many people understand they put these people on the altar of sacrifice in order to further all these international programs and all for these newcomers? And now these people in the hood are like, what? What do you mean on November 1st I got to fend for myself? You should be mad at the Democrats. They gave Trump the opportunity to begin changing the budget.
As you know, House Republicans passed what they say is a clean, short-term funding bill, but most congressional Democrats refuse to support it. I know you want to address the Affordable Care Act subsidies set to expire at the end of the year. But why not vote to fund the government, at least for now, and then negotiate on the subsidies later while the government is open?
Well, clearly, the Republicans don't want to negotiate.
Next one.
Leader Schumer, leaders going to opportunity to negotiate on the Affordable Care Act with you if you reopen government. Why won't you take the deal?
The bottom line is that's no deal. That's a partisan plan that leaves the American people high and dry. And they've asked us for 45 days and 45 days and 45 days. When they say another 45 days, later to them means never. We have to get them to the table and negotiate with us now.
But unfortunately for you, Chucky, while you're trying to do everything you can in the media, these people are not going to have their EBT cards. It is October 22nd. In 10 days, there will be no refunding, no refill on these EBT cards. And they're about to go ballistic. And they don't care if they're going to hurt Republicans or Democrats. All they care about is, I got to go get mine. It's disgusting. But this is what you've bred. This is what you've caused. You can only give that animal, that kitten, milk so many times before it just takes up residence outside your front door. And I'm not calling people animals, even though some of them act like it. We are in a situation right now where this EBT thing is a volcano. And it's going to burn everything in its path, and it doesn't care whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. They can't fathom that in about 10 days, they're not going to be able to get anything they want.
And they're getting ready to shut off that EBT November 1st. If you're shopping at Walmart, Kroger, Ralph's, ShopRite, Target, Publix, get real close. I'm only say this once and I'm going to say it real slow so you understand. Sharkeisha is coming to town.
I just got that text that the link is definitely cut the off for November. Y'all better stay the out of my way in these stores. I'm walking out with carts and I'm not paying for shit. I'm gonna be stealing like it ain't no tomorrow. And I'm gonna have one of my cousins with me that'll punch your ass so hard you gonna think a Jet 2 holiday hit your bitch ass.
Can you imagine depending on somebody else to feed your kid? That's what we go to work for, ain't it? Why are we having all these kids we can't afford anyway? You on your $1,000 cell phone, checking if you got credit for EBT. How does that make sense? Oh, shit. Shout out to Angry Man. He put me onto that one. You got your hair done, your nails done. You buying everything but food. Nobody cares about your baby but you. Maybe their father. That's who you need to call. Call his damn father. You over here asking the government to help you out. No, government want a divorce. Call your parents. Because you told her, you told everybody you could do bad by yourself. Well, how you doing now? Sharkeisha gonna be coming for everybody's carts. If she can't fill her basket, she gonna be looking at yours. I got my concealed carry. Yeah, because this holiday season, finna be a shit show.
In case you're wondering, no, we didn't have a cold spell here in Florida. I'm wearing this unbelievable sweatshirt hoodie from Bearskin. I mean, it's like military grade. This thing's incredible. If you guys haven't heard of Bearskin hoodies, I'm going to tell you about them now. You guys can look around. The smart people are locking in their winter gear now because this is hands down the best time to prep for the coming winter. Well, for people who don't live in Florida. Bearskin is running a 60% off deal right now, but only if you get your hoodie early. This hoodie is built like a tank. 340 GSM micro fleece, 10 pockets. I mean, you got pockets everywhere. All kinds of pockets on this thing. With a clean, rugged fit. I think it's rugged. I feel good. That looks awesome. Plus, it zips right into the heavy storm rain jacket to become 100% waterproof when you need it. Man, this thing is warm. So when it turns cold, wet, and windy, you're not scrambling from the last minute. You get free U.S. shipping, fast delivery, and you're locked into your winter gear already. That's a win-win. So do yourself a favor and text the word Barry to 36912 to lock in your 60% off discount. Again, text Barry to 36912. You'll get a link sent straight to your phone so you can check it out later if you're busy right now watching the show. And one more thing, when you support Bearskin, you're also supporting the Fallen Outdoors and the Hope for the Warriors veteran program. So you're not just buying a great gear, you're backing a cause that matters. Don't wait till you're freezing up north to realize your hoodie sucks. Get a Bearskin right now while it's 60% off. Text Barry to 36912. All right, so at 2:30, Reagan Reese is going to be coming on for a quick interview. Reagan from the Daily Caller, and she's been in the White House. She was able to speak to President Trump and ask him 2 questions recently. So we're going to talk to her for a quick bit, and then we'll get back to the EBT queens because I got a lot to show you. And then after the EBT queens, then we're going to listen to Mike Johnson's press conference from earlier today. With that said, I wanted to show you a couple things that President Trump posted on Truth Social so you can see where his head is this morning. He posted this. Mary Barra of General Motors and Bill Ford of Ford Motor Company just called to thank me for putting tariffs on mid-sized and large-sized trucks. Their stock has gone through the roof. They told me that without tariffs, it would be very hard, long slog for truck and car manufacturers in the United States. I told them it's very simple. This is a national security matter. With the tariffs, we have a strong and powerful economy and country. Without them, we have the exact opposite. He also posted this, and he says, the cattle ranchers, who I love, don't understand that the only reason they are doing so well for the first time in decades is because I put a tariff on cattle coming into the United States, including a 50% tariff on Brazil. If it weren't for me, they would be doing just as we've done for the past 20 years, terrible. It would be nice if they would understand that, but they also have to get their prices down because the consumer is a very big factor in my thinking also. And he followed that up was, in addition to everything else, tariffs on other countries saved our cattle ranchers. All right, so that's what's going on with President Trump. I will get to Reagan Reese as soon as she comes on. Let me, before I go too much further into the EBT stuff, I'd like to show you a couple things that people have posted because it's getting really bad. I mean, really bad. The videos are everywhere. I'm almost wondering if it's a TikTok trend. Is it actually real? I can't imagine making a video saying I'm going to steal. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to take your food. I'm going to do everything I possibly can because I got to get mine. You know, I stop short of calling people animals, but they're exhibiting animalistic activities. At any cost, get theirs. It's absolutely absurd. And it's getting worse because it seems, like I said, the demographic of people who are doing it is almost exclusively one demographic. Spitfire says, oops, I hit the wrong button. Spitfire says, anyone else notice that the vast majority of the people screaming about losing EBT found enough money to get piercings and tattoos everywhere? Piercings, tattoos, their phone, you name it. All of this extraneous money is being spent, and it's easy to do it because you don't have to pay for any food. How much more money in your pocket would you have if you were not having to pay for food, not having to pay rent, not having to, and you get more money depending on how many babies are in the home? President Johnson screwed this country. Absolutely screwed the country and let this stuff run wild. And now it could be permanently gone like that. Talk about excising a boil. Talk about cold turkey. I don't think these people are going to be able to take it. I don't think the country will be able to take it. They're going to go ballistic. Be careful out there. George said this: when the government reopens, can we make sure to cancel welfare going to the people making threats to steal from stores because their food stamps got paused? These EBT warriors need to be dealt with. I can't argue with that. Why should it be okay for you to threaten that you're going to steal whatever you need to steal to get what you want? And they're having no problems picking up a phone and going, yeah, you better watch out. I'm going to steal your stuff. This is the beginning of anarchy. As soon as Reagan is done and we talk to her, I'm going to show you that this is the beginning of anarchy. This is exactly what the Democrats want. They don't want you to have a nice, cushy life. They don't want you to feel safe in your home. And now they don't want you to feel safe in the grocery store. There's something really, really wrong with that. Data Republican came up with something, and this is a little bit, I'll save that one, but I do want to say Kyle Seraphin. Kyle's kind of out there, but once in a while Kyle will post something and I have to go, yeah, I kind of agree with that. James Madison is sometimes called the father of the Constitution. He didn't believe the federal government should provide any of the welfare benefits we currently do. Perhaps November 1st is a good day to return to the founder's vision. Charity is no part of the legislative duty of the government. Even the guy who preceded Lyndon B. Johnson pretty much said that. You remember it. All of us grew up with it. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. The reason why I can say that and not use a teleprompter, because it was drilled in my head growing up as a young man, young boy. Ask not what your country could do for you. Charity is no part of the legislative duty of the government. Instead, ask what you could do for the government. This could never be a staple of the left. James Madison, as part of, I think it was, he said Madison, right? Yeah. James Madison, who wrote this, would be in exile today for even saying such a statement. But it's true. Do you think it's false? Where do you find it? Since when? Well, we now can pretty much pinpoint when. Since when did the government become a charitable institution? I got a news flash for you. In order to be charitable, you have to have the funds to donate. When you go to church and the basket comes around, you got to have the money to pull out of your pocket and put it in the basket. Even if it's a theoretical basket, because now a lot of churches use text giving and all kinds of stuff like that, but you got to have the funds. You have to put the money into the church basket. You have to donate turkeys on Thanksgiving. You, not the government. The government doesn't have any money. The government wasn't designed to have any money. You are paying for this stuff because over the last 50 and 60 years, they kept bumping our taxes up. And they've somehow brainwashed these people to thinking, I get it from the government. No, you get it from us. And at some point, we may decide you don't get any more. We don't like how you're living. We don't want to do this anymore. We don't want to keep paying more and more taxes so people on farms in Uganda have condoms. No, I don't want to do that. We're reaching revolutionary times. But unfortunately, we don't have as many revolutionary people on our side. We are definitely getting to a position, even with a communist mayor in New York, where people are asleep at the wheel, not understanding it's 1775 all over again, but in a different way. And I'm going to show you some of this stuff once Reagan comes after my interview with Reagan that was scheduled right at 2:30. You have to be seeing this. And the reason why you have to be seeing it is you know this can never even be uttered in the halls of Democrats. There's no way that they could even mouth the words. It is because they have taken it upon themselves to make sure that the votes can be bought by feeding the little birdies. Even if those little birdies have 10 or 12 chicks in the nest and have no ability to be fed other than by you. You know, every time they use one of those EBT cards, it's almost like they should turn around to other people working, even the person scanning the groceries, and go, thank you. Because you can't spend that EBT money without that cashier. That's the first person you're looking at, and you know she's working, he's working. You don't know if the people in line are working or not, but you know for sure that person's scanning your cans and food and Cheetos. You know for sure that person is working. You know they are paying for your stuff. I don't know, where I come from, you say thank you when people are giving you a gift. Where I come from, you say thank you when people are giving you charity. See, let's not forget for one instance that everything we do in regards to the EBT program, bus passes, and everything else is charity. You're accepting charity from others, and you're ungrateful. It's become expected. Charity was never supposed to be expected. And yet the Democrats have now got people to a certain point in their lives where that's exactly where they are. It doesn't even cross their minds that they can't have it, that people don't want to pay for it anymore. Especially, I am not one to fat shame. You guys have seen me doing hopefully some sort of a metamorphosis over the years where I've lost weight and tried to get in better shape, get the Guns of Navarone, back to where they used to be. But in any essence, when you see these people making these videos, like maybe you don't need that cheese puffs. Maybe you don't need them Dolly Madison cakes. Maybe you just need some eggs and cornmeal, the way it was supposed to be. We'll give you all the eggs, butter, and cornmeal you want. I'd be for that. Hey, you can have them. But we can't put that genie back in the bottle whatsoever. And that's bad. I see Reagan is about to come in, so let me do a quick intro to Reagan as she was in the White House recently. Let's listen to two quick questions.
An appeals court recently ruled that you can send the National Guard into Portland, Oregon. Do you feel unfettered to send the National Guard into whatever city you want now?
Well, I guess that was the decision that I can send the National Guard if I see problems. I looked at Portland over the weekend. The place is burning down, just burning down. We weren't there. We didn't spend much time there because we were waiting for that decision. But the court, probably maybe that influenced the court. But you look at a place like Portland, it's ridiculous when they say that there's no problem. The place was on fire over the weekend. But we won the case in Court of Appeals. I think it was the Ninth Circuit, so that's pretty good. And a very strong opinion that we have the right to use the National Guard. You would think that would be common sense. We have the right to use the National Guard to put out trouble. Well, that's how I got elected. One of the reasons I got elected.
Reagan, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. We're seeing you moving up in the world of media now. You're doing so much. I love to see it. Question for you. So you're talking to President Trump. I assume that was you, right? That was you?
Yep, that was me.
Okay, so that was you. Let me move your volume up a little bit. As you asked that question about the National Guard, what are the other people in the media? How are they looking at you? What are they thinking? Because President Trump broke out into a little bit of a smile right there, like it's almost like it's coming. So two questions I have for you. How is the media accepting this? And is there chatter amongst the White House that it's actually coming and they feel comfortable moving these forces into San Francisco, Chicago, and other parts unknown as of yet?
Well, Barry, it comes at no surprise, I'm sure, to you and your audience, that the legacy media it treats everything that Donald Trump does as the end of the world. I mean, he's doing construction. He's building a beautiful ballroom right now, and they are acting like Donald Trump has lit the world on fire. So, of course, they freak out about the National Guard and, his response that he feels unfettered now to put the National Guard in whatever city he wants. I think this is something that the media has tried to downplay and scrutinize since the second he started to do it. I remember, I believe it was the New York Times did an article criticizing Trump for bringing the National Guard into Washington, D.C. And then after that, they started criticizing him for putting the National Guard in the wrong places in Washington, D.C. It's like he can't win. And so, it does seem like the White House, the gloves are off. I think President Trump is pretty forthcoming in that answer there, saying, I can do whatever I want now. I can take the National Guard and I can put them where I think there is a problem. Like we were waiting, essentially, is what he said on this court ruling. From my understanding, my intel, I think we're going to be hearing more about the efforts that the president has made in cities like Memphis, Tennessee, and kind of the progress they've made in cleaning up those cities.
I think the last time we talked, it was just about the time when it was starting in Washington. So since that time, which I think was probably a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and I understand you live outside of Washington in Virginia, what have you noticed and how has it continued to improve?
Yeah, I do live outside of the city. I moved to Virginia because of safety. I used to live on Capitol Hill. There was an attempted break-in at my place there on Capitol Hill. I no longer felt safe in the area. And it was an area that was safe 3 years ago, felt fine 3 years ago, and now it isn't anymore. And right as I moved, then President Trump said, I'm taking over Washington, D.C., and I'm going to make it feel so much safer. And, I rode home. It's getting darker here in Washington. I hate riding the metro when it's dark at night. Of course, this is anecdotal, but I felt safe riding the metro last night because you see the National Guard on every single stop. And once I get out to Virginia, the stops become a bit, friendlier, safer. So it's really getting in and out of the city. But I did a piece a while back when this all went down, kind of comparing the first 2 weeks of the president's crackdown on crime in D.C. to the same 2-week period from the year before that and the year prior to that. And it was just a unbelievable drop in crime in almost every category. And, the president says it, I think yesterday, they were tracking how many weeks there's been without a murder. And I think that itself speaks to the changes that have been brought to Washington, D.C.
You know, you're a young woman. You're surrounded in the press pool by other young women. They're not reporting on it, but they must be experiencing it themselves. They must look around at each other and go, yeah, I can like go down the street. Why? I mean, obviously the reason, because they don't want to give Trump any credit, but aren't they indeed recipients of this same safety that they don't want to give him credit for?
Oh, 100%. You know, when I leave the White House, I was thinking about this yesterday, is the safest I feel at all times. You know, essentially when I'm on White House grounds, also protected by the Secret Service. Mm-hmm. And the second I step off of the White House grounds, I am thinking to myself, you know, or I used to think to myself, where can I walk and still be kind of in the eyesight of the Secret Service so they can still maybe protect me if something bad happened? And I know that other women feel the same way. I know that, you know, I've heard them talk about it. You know, for whatever reason, I believe the Democrats have it in their head that this is authoritarianism, that this is fascist behavior, that it just looks, I've heard this argument a lot. I've been on a panel once with a Democrat who just said it looks bad, it looks scary. And I was like, it doesn't. First of all, what do you think of our men and women in the military who are there to protect us, that they're scary, that we should be afraid of them? It's very bizarre. And quite frankly, I don't think it's a winning message for Democrats.
No, I don't think so either. In fact, so now that he has a business model of doing it in Washington, D.C., he can take that same model and go in other areas. Now, I'm not sure if you cover Judge Jeanine and her office much at all, but yesterday we showed a press conference where she was arresting the people who attacked Big Balls, and something just dawned on me. We were watching the same chief of police in Washington, D.C., who was at first upset that Trump was doing something and has now just completely changed her demeanor. Is there any chatter as to what happened to Muriel Bowser and that chief of police?
You know, I had the opportunity to speak to President Trump in my hour-long interview in August. Mm-hmm. And at the time, Muriel Bowser had expressed such great, she was thankful for President Trump's help. And President Trump had told me essentially that he had talked to her and that, you know, maybe she had friends that were talking to her and were telling her this is a great thing and you should be happy for this. You know, I would say in terms of since then, you know, DC and the crime crackdown has kind of faded out of the news cycle. Mm-hmm. I think for the most part, people are no longer upset about it. And I think the same would be for her. I think she's, you know, I know that the city of DC is involved in a lawsuit with the Trump administration and whatever, but for the most part, she's piped down on it. We don't hear from her very much. And I think that can be considered a win as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So now segue into another story, this whole thing with the demolishing the White House. And it seems again, they're lying once again that, you know, how many presidents, including Obama, have changed things at the White House. And in essence, this is one small area on the back end of the White House. Why are they acting this way? Or is it because they've got nothing else to report on?
Probably because it's very slow here in Washington because of the government shutdown. And that's definitely a part of it. You know, I've seen the argument that the White House is a historical building and that, you know, you are a renter, not a buyer when you're the president there, that you're not supposed to make these structural changes. You know, I love history. I totally revere it. But when we invite state leaders to the White House and the president has a state dinner, what they do is they set up a white tent, a giant tent, essentially. That is where they have dinner. And of course, it's the nicest tent they can ever find. But at the end of the day, it's still a tent. Right. And how embarrassing is that for the United States to host all these world leaders, for them to come to the most powerful place in the world? And we put them in a tent that looks like a graduation party or something like that. And so the ballroom, and I've actually heard from White House staffers that when they hold those, it gets muddy and mud gets tracked in and it gets dirty and it's not very nice. So then you have world leaders who are like tracking in mud and walking on the grass and their heels are breaking and what have you. So, when the president is building a ballroom, he's building really a grand place for us to be proud of, to host foreign leaders. And this is probably one of the things I feel very strongly about that the media is getting wrong, is this ballroom fiasco, because I want it to look nice. I want America to look nice and for us to be proud.
Well, speaking of building, I hope this is you. I think this is you. Another question you have.
You're also building the Obama Presidential Library. I'm wondering if you've seen pictures of the architecture? And
yeah, I did. It's not too pretty. No, but it's closed. It's stopped. They ran out of money. It means building a library / museum. You call it some museum, and usually they call it library and museum. That's the official name. And they're stuck. And he wanted only women and DEI to build it. Well, that's what they got. And the construction workers are standing out there and saying, we want to be able to build it. You have I built a great building in Chicago, as you know, a big, beautiful building, one of the tallest buildings in the country. And we got it built very quickly, very well. And we used the construction workers of Chicago. They're great workers. They're great construction people. And I suggest that you get them involved. But they're hundreds of millions of dollars over budget. And I think it stopped. I'm reading these terrible stories. But that's the way our country was run under President Obama, too. Nobody knew it.
When you ask his questions, he actually breaks out into a smile. Unlike some of the other people, he's like, I'm not talking to you. He looks like he's holding something in, like he wants to say something even worse about it. So many of us have seen this monstrosity that Obama is building out there. Are the other people, I mean, what's the story behind that? $800 gazillion and it's still not even close to being done, and it looks like crap. Maybe he should have called Trump. What are people saying about that, or are they just too afraid to even talk about it?
Well, I think a lot of people think it's ugly, whether they want to admit it or not. That was kind of the whole inspiration for the question. Was I see a ton of discourse online on Twitter, people being like, oh my gosh, what is this presidential library? And here's a little behind the scenes clip of what it's like to cover the White House. When those cameras go off and the president kind of signals things are over, they have to slowly corral the press, the White House staff. They actually call them press wranglers because their whole job is to wrangle us like cattle and move us out the Oval Office door. And I was the last one out, and I turned to the president and I said, thank you so much, Mr. President. And he flashed me this big smile and he was like, you're welcome and great questions. So you were right, Barry. He loved that Obama question. And I do think he wanted to go a little bit harder on President Obama. But, you have to keep it civil to some degree.
You can see his personality sometimes bleeds through, and he's like, I could really jump on this, but I just got to pump the brakes a little bit. I know you got to jump. I got one last question for you because we're on a hard stop. What's going on with the shutdown? If you were a betting woman and you were J.B. Pritzker and you're going to go to the casino and spend $1 gazillion trying to win, when's this thing this shutdown ending?
Well, first, I love the game of blackjack. I'm not a big gambler, but I do hope one day I have the same success as J.D. Pritzker. I would love to rack in $1.4 million playing blackjack. So I kind of respect him for that in a way. But second, I've heard that some people think it's going to get done this week. Well, it's Wednesday. We don't know what's happening. Yesterday, the president hosted Senate Republicans at the Rose Garden Club, and they were very firm that they were not going to back down, that they are staying where they are. And so it's up to the Democrats, and I don't know how much longer the Democrats can keep this up. And honestly, Barry, I've been wrong. I thought it was going to be a short shutdown. I thought the Democrats did not have the strength to hold out, but here we are in week 3. And I was totally incorrect about that. So my prediction is it's going to go into November.
Ooh.
Will it go into December? Good grief. Probably not. I hope not. But I do think
Wow.
that it's going to last until November.
So the story I'm leading with today just dovetails off what you just said. If it goes into November, the next week or so, those EBT cards all go off. What the heck is going to happen?
I don't know. Not good things. And I mean, if you read some of these stories coming out in the media about Democrats, you know, there are some Democrats who disagree with leadership on holding out. There are some Democrats that are trying to use this moment to fundraise, while meanwhile troops aren't getting their paycheck. I have a good friend in Tennessee who can't put a payment down on a house. She's trying to buy a house with a husband because he's in the military and he's furloughed and he's not getting paid. And these are, you know, average people who I would also consider to be independents or more straight down the middle than typically breaking with conservatives. And they are getting frustrated and it's reaching them. And they're starting to realize, hey, this is the Democrats' fault. The Democrats are keeping me from getting paid and buying that house or getting my groceries. And so I think if it continues, it's going to be catastrophic for the Democratic Party, which they don't need right now.
No. Well, Reagan, I know you got to jump. Don't be a stranger. Just real quick, what's the last thing? What is the next thing you're going to be working on? One of your stories.
Ooh, I have a juicy piece on the Florida governor's race.
Oh, you gotta come back about that one. I'm down here in Boca, so it's gotta be something about Byron Donalds and Casey DeSantis. It's gotta be. Is it? Am I correct there?
It's gonna be. It's about is this going to be 2024 Trump v. DeSantis all over again?
Oh wow! Can't wait! Gotta read that. When's it coming out?
It's a great question. I told my sources 2 weeks ago, and I'm still working on it. So hopefully next week, fingers crossed.
All right.
But I take my time with good reporting.
All right. Very well. Talk to you very soon. Thanks for you taking the time quickly to come on here.
Yeah.
All right.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
It's genius. It's pure genius. America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
Why do so many financial experts call silver the most undervalued asset today? Because silver is essential to the future, from solar tech and electric vehicles to the explosive growth of artificial intelligence. Demand is rising fast, and yet silver is still trading at a bargain. With billions pouring into AI, silver prices have only one place to go, and that's up. In fact, silver may be the most overlooked asset class in financial planning. The opportunity for silver is well documented. The market for silver could double or even triple by 2026. You see, I believe in hard assets like this bar of silver. You can hold it in your hand, you can put it in your IRA, you can put it in your home safe. And relative to gold, it's very affordable. That's why I urge you to call my friends at Lear Capital and get their free report, The AI Revolution, and see why silver prices could be set to soar. Call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. But don't wait. We all know. We've seen it. The government can print lots and lots of dollars, but they can't print silver.
42 million people could lose their food stamps if Schumer doesn't open up by Halloween. Schumer and Hips are still getting a paycheck, but poor families can't eat, and they're getting hangry.
Y'all better stay out of my way in these stores. I'm walking out with carts and I'm not paying for Trump, if you won't start looting, it's gonna happen. Before my kids go broke as like Jock, I'm gonna be stealing like it ain't no tomorrow.
Go ahead and start.
What kind of person makes a video telling you in advance, if I don't get mine, I'm going to be taking it anyway? I don't know how they could be making these videos thinking that it's causing people to feel sympathetic for their situation. If it was me and I was dependent upon an EBT card, Maybe perhaps I would say, please, Mr. President, please, Mr. Schumer, could you guys please work this out? We really need the help. But that's what civilized people would do. That's when you don't expect it and you realize it's a blessing. But not these people. These people best have my EBT card. I'm like, wait a second. You understand we're paying for that. How about being a little, magnanimous here and going, I understand the government's an issue, but I also need to get, food for my kids. No, that's not what's coming. Like the other guy said, Shaquisha is coming. They are coming. Be prepared when you walk into your local grocery store. Keep your eyes, head on a swivel. If Reagan was right, if Reagan is right that this thing's not going to end until it gets into November, these people are going to go bat-poop crazy. Now, I don't know if you've seen this, and I've made this reference many times here. We live in South Florida, and this is about the time when hurricanes come blowing through. Well, we're under a hurricane advisory. Not advisory, but watch the seas. We know right now, Robin knows, I know, everybody in South Florida knows, there's something going on out there. That something out there is spinning, and all the models that look like this, and nobody ever knows what the hell here's the track of the storm. What the hell am I supposed to do with that? But that's what they look like right now. But we all watch. We don't freak out. We're looking. 7 days, 6 days, 4 days, 3. Oh, hey. Now we better pay attention. We got like 3 or 4 days left, and this thing is going to hit. Robin, I'm going to go get gas. I'm going to make sure that both cars can fit in the garage. I'll clean out the stuff. You get the food ready. You have bottles of ice, big old gallons things that they sell at the grocery store. We hunker down. We got to make sure that we're ready for this coming storm. I'm not going to get, oh my gosh, what do we do? There's no money, there's no gas, there's no food. Oh my God, I'm gonna go steal something. No. Civilized people see the storm coming and get ready for it. Civilized people realize, well, electric could go out, internet could go out, you won't see me. Gas stations may not have gas. We've been through this. We all know. People ask me all the time, Barry, how do you guys live in Florida with all these hurricanes? You get a warning, right? It's not like living in Kansas where tornadoes just drop out the sky and obliterate everything. We get warnings, and we can look. Okay, it's five days away, honey, and we can prepare. So I have to tell you, EBT Queen, something, and EBT Princess. It is October 22nd. Your EBT card may indeed go off on November 1st. That's 8-9 days. In that 8 or 9 days, prepare as if a hurricane is coming to your area. And if a hurricane was coming to your area, maybe making videos about the hurricane coming and complaining isn't what you should be doing. You should be like squirrels. You should be out there foraging and making sure that you are prepared. Sell your jewelry. Don't get the nails done. Don't go get the perm or the weave. If you truly got to feed your kids, you need to prepare like the end may be here in a couple days. I got no sympathy. Turn off the phone. Stop swearing. Stop being idiots and start realizing for the first time maybe that I need to be an adult here and take care of stuff. Maybe go get some ramen. Go get a bunch of canned stuff if you got anything left on your EBT cards. Maybe learn how to shop this time. Hey, maybe I shouldn't have got those Cheetos and we should have got some, canned goods. Why are you looking to us? I don't even know you. I can't help you. November 1st, ka-chink, it goes off. You got time. If you're watching this, don't get mad at Barry. You got 10 days to take care of business. Every single one of us here in South Florida has had to deal with a time-based calamity or potential calamity. And every single person in Florida, even the poor people, know that there's a time-based calamity here. We have homeless people in Florida. They don't go flying around in the air because they know too. Hey man, there's a hurricane. I better get my butt into the shelter. Or get on that bus, let them take me away. You ever notice that? We have hurricanes, like, wow, there's not a whole lot of dead homeless people? Wow. How's that happen? Because they watch it too. Hey man, you hear about the hurricane coming? Yeah. Well, what time the bus getting here? See, you need to get on a bus. It's coming.
You know, from like grocery stores. Walmart already has enough money.
Since they want to take food stamps away, I'm going to Walmart. I'm going to rank up any damn Walmart, throw the right in the basket. I'm coming right about the move, get the out of my way. I'm not paying for a damn thing.
It's a hanger.
Maybe you should have spent some more of that food stamp money that you sell sometimes and bought a linguistic class. Learn how to talk. Why is every other word out of these people's mouths F this, F that, MF this, MS that? Hey, talk to me like you want me to help you. Talk to me like you're happy that you're spending my money. But no, these people have reverted to the point where if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to take it. See how that's going to work out.
Strike, and they're warning workers, don't get in our way.
And the PSA to them retail workers during this hard time of what is going on in the world, I really don't advise y'all to try to chase after anybody that's trying to collect them some food for their family as they're walking out that door with that cart, because you might around and don't make it home.
And lock your door.
They're warning you. We're coming. Shaniqua and all the other people are coming to a store near you, and they're not caring if they got to steal it. You're letting people know in advance, which is a good thing. Which is a very good thing. Because I hope every Walmart and Publix and Winn-Dixie and Piggly Wiggly, whatever stores in your area, you start getting ready for it like it's the hurricane. You now know. On November 1st, you're going to see a legion of zombies coming your way, expecting to steal. Expecting to take what they want because they have not been taught otherwise. The Democrats have created this. The Democrats own every bit of what's about to happen. Yet they're not even thinking about these people. It's leverage. They have created the EBT queens and kings. They have made this. These people don't work. It's become a lifestyle. It is not a crutch. It is not a bridge, which is what the lady who emailed me, and I told her, no, you didn't accept this as supposedly how your life was going to be. You answered that in the email yourself as you were getting mad at me for saying these EBT losers are stealing. I'm not talking about people who need a hand. I'm talking about people who gave up life or were taught there should be no other way, and that you're just going to keep taking and taking and taking, and then when the taking stops, we're going to take some more, however means necessary. However, how any means necessary.
Of course, they're not just going for the grocery aisle.
Let me not get my food stamps. I'm going back to skilling. I don't care. If you leave your car unlocked in the middle of the night, lock it. Because if I don't get no food stamps, believe me and mine's gonna eat regardless.
You might eat some lead. Depending on where you are. That's why I thought this was a TikTok trend. I cannot believe people are acting so animalistic. I cannot believe that people have gone to the point 10 days in advance, and they're putting out and they're everywhere. I mean, you can go, I literally go on X and put in EBT. Here, let let me show you how easy it is to find some of this insanity. You go to here. Let me just put in EBT, 3 letters, and I'll hit search. And then after it's done, there they all are. There's 9 videos right here. That's where I got my thumbnail. Then this lady's like, you ain't taking my stuff. This wasn't supposed to be. They were temporary. They don't understand that word temporary. And that's me. And then down here, I love this. No job. Middle class in America. No job is full. And, the videos are all over the place. Them loading up their carts on your money. I love this one. This lady's like, you come here, you're going to get arrested. At least this woman, she's like called it a PSA. I'm going to call the police on you if you come in here. This is the No Queens Festival on November 1st, filled with chips and stuff. This one here, this video here, if you guys see it, I couldn't put this one on. This video is 3 minutes and 48 seconds, and literally the F-bombs were flowing every 1.5 seconds about what she gonna do and how she gonna do it. This one here talking about, I will starve without EBT starter pack. These videos are, it's just, I'm stealing Thanksgiving dinner if these food stamps, if you don't give me my food stamps, I'm stealing it. This guy was the worst. This guy says, I'm a MFing boss. I don't work. I'm a MFing boss. You're going to have to pay for my kids. The government's supposed to pay for my kids. When I saw his, which I could play it, there's no copyright, he just F-bombs the entire thing. And on and on and on. They're all screaming. Can you imagine what it cost to get that hair? She actually had to pay somebody to do that to her. She put up good money, wherever she got it from, and said, do me a favor, give me the Donald Trump special. Ma'am, you're black. That's okay. Give me the Donald Trump special. I hate him so much I want to get hair like him. There he is again. Oh, okay, so you can read it. You can read along. Here, I used to get $740 a month for my 2 kids. And we not getting EBT anymore because they've taken it away. They're saying I got to work 20 hours a week. I'm not working for nobody. Get the F out of here. This is what America's taxpayers work for. Go pay for my stuff for us. They the work. He actually said all this in a video. You can see it. Go get me. I mean, you can see the F-bombs. The AI actually translated it. But he's like, go do it. Y'all think I'm kidding. I hope you don't live anywhere where the Shaniquas come out on November 1st. It's funny because there's going to be a 2-day Halloween season this year. You're going to have the people in costume, and the real monsters ain't coming out till November 1st. And it ain't like Sully and Big Mike. These people nuts. Absolutely bat poop nuts. That's why I'm hoping this is a TikTok trend. I cannot for the life of me think that our society has broken down this bad. So if it's true, we're in a really bad way.
Okay, y'all. Y'all gonna want to hear this, because this is coming November 1st. If you are receiving SNAP EBT, by November 1st, you're going to have to start working 80 hours a month just for you to collect your food stamps.
Okay, I got to stop bro man here. 80 hours a month. I work for myself and do more than that in a week. Remember, I do shows every single day. 2 shows a day, Monday through Thursday. A show Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 7 days a week. Well in excess of 80 hours in a week. Well. And these people don't want to work 80 hours in a month. An entire flipping month. How did we get to this point where society has decayed this badly? This badly, where people just are losing their minds that they may have to fulfill a work requirement. Something that you and I have done since we've been 16. We went to work. We learned, hey, if you go to work, you get this stuff called money. And when you get this money, usually you're like, well, if I do more, I'll make more of it. Yeah. And these people, it's completely foreign. They are literally the chicks in the nest. Just kept feeding them, and they never learned to hunt.
So all that staying home, chilling, hanging out, it's time to wrap that shit up. Because now you got to go to work. Okay? And this is not for the ones that are handicapped, that can't work at all. This is for those young parents that are able to work, but they decide to stay home, be lazy, and collect food stamps and cash.
Now, the Democrat ideology is like, you can't call them lazy. No, we're putting the pre-qualifier. I'm putting the asterisk there. I don't want any more emails saying, Barry, you're being flippant and you're not taking into account. No. Anybody who's disabled, has physical issues, that they can't do things, anyone who has a mental incapacity, we're not talking about those people. We're not talking about disabled. None of those people. Those people, yeah, you need to get whatever you get. We need to take care of the people in our society who have whatever concerns in that regard. I'm talking about the 350-pound Shamu who's telling me you're going to come kick in my door because I got to get my food. That is lazy. That loser laziness that somehow the Democrats have bred. And then telling people you can't call them lazy. Well, what exactly would you call Shamuda Mama, who doesn't want to go to work, has pumped out 5 or 6 kids, who she don't even know who the daddies are, and then expects you and me to pay for it? She did more work 9 months ago than she'll do the entire rest of the year. And she probably didn't do it that much work then. Why are we responsible for her life choices that seem to continue to replicate? Hey, I'm sorry, I got pregnant, I had a kid, I need some help, I lost my job. Honey, we're going to help you. Wait a minute, you did it again? Yeah, it happened. It happened a third time? Yeah. 4th time? Wait a second, you're doing something wrong. But they're probably thinking we're doing something right. Because the Democrats say, go ahead and work the system. Which is weird because at the same time, they're telling other people to go in the big blue bus. Crazy world here, huh? Mad, mad, mad world.
Right? The taxpayers are paying your rent and shit. But this is what's coming November 1st. Now, I don't know, is it because of the shutdown of the government? But I've been telling you guys that this is coming for a very long time. So now you guys got to get your ass up and go work. And you can't complain. It's 80 hours a month.
Can you imagine being, 22, 24, 25, and somebody having to tell you, like, oh my God, I got to work 80 hours a month. What are they doing to me? This is the slavery that Joe Biden was talking about. They're going to put me back in chains. 80 hours a month. There's something wrong with Democrats. Okay? Let's just call it. Let's just say these people have bred themselves an army of zombies whose only value to them is their vote. And that's all they care about, their votes. Go out there and have as many babies as you want, or go ahead and destroy as many babies. Either way, we don't care. Just keep voting for us. Oh yeah, we'll give you some free food and free phone and free bus passes and free this and free that. So you never have to do anything but sit around and watch old Jerry Springer reruns and eat bonbons.
Okay? Not per week, a month. So you still get to chill. But now you still got to get up early in the morning, take your ass to work for a couple of hours. It is what it is. I told you guys this shit was coming. And it's here, November 1st.
This is going to be
a couple hours a day. A couple hours a day, and you get free food. And they don't even want to do that. You know why they're... The thought of there being a racist society? Because there are plenty of white people who will look at these videos and go, you piece of crap. You absolute piece of crap. I bust my hump every single day. I've been doing it for 15, 20, 30 years, and you're complaining that you got to work 2 hours a day. And you get all the food you want, more food than the people who are actually working. But you're pissed at us. You're pissed that the government ain't gonna have your money.
Super hard lesson for a lot of people to learn. A super hard lesson. Never, ever, 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 ever depend on the government for anything. Never trust.
See, that's what the problem is. Something that you and I realize, I don't want the government. I don't want to live in the company store, if you know what I'm talking about. I want to do my own thing. I just want government to get out of the way. That's why the government shutdown has been so fantastic for me. They're out of the way. Go, do whatever you need to do. Doesn't affect me at all. I mean, not even this much. Not at all. I'm sure some of you are affected by it. But I wake up and go to sleep and do what I need to do and sleep and poop and walk the dogs and kiss the wife and eat, do my videos, do it all over the next day. The only thing that I wish would shut down, the only thing I wish would slow down in terms of the government is for Trump to take a couple days off. That man just don't stop. That's the only thing that gets me. It's like, dude, are you shut down? But I don't depend on the government. And that's when they get you. You're completely dependent upon them.
The government for anything. Never build your lifestyle around anything that the government is giving out. Never, ever, ever, ever believe that anything that the government is doing has anything to do with your safety. Never, ever. Pew pew buyback program. What, you think that was about your safety? Unarmed nation is a controlled nation. Never ever depend on the government to feed your family. Never ever depend on the government to feed yourself. Don't depend on the government for your housing. Don't depend on the government for your food, for your medical, for what doctor you're going to see or what specialist you need to see. It's the best argument.
See, that should have been taught to everybody in grammar school. You have your social studies, your geography, your math, and your don't depend on the government reinforcement speech every single day. You need to do this and this and this, so you never have to depend on the government. You need to take this and work out and do this and do that, so you never have to depend on the government. When was it that you first learned? Where it came to you and said, you know what? I shouldn't depend on the government. How did you find out? When did you glean that information? Usually early. Very early. Yeah, the DMV was about as much government as I wanted to ever see.
That I can come up with and why we should never ever adapt universal health care. Ever, ever. The government as a whole is not reliable, and it does not matter who is in office. A lot of people that don't understand the hierarchy of the political, the executive house and all that stuff, is pretty wild to me, and it just shows me how very little the Department of Education actually ever did. This isn't Trump. This is Congress. This is your Congress. This is your Democrats and your senators. Okay, this is your Democrats out here who are posting TikToks about different things, and then your GOP who's out here posting selfies about their things and thirst traps. This is Congress.
Yeah, it's both sides. She's absolutely right in that regard. It's both sides. This should have been stopped decades ago. Not now because it's they're going to lose it on November 1st. This should have been dealt with 20, 30 years ago. hey, we need to pump the brakes on all these damn welfare programs. How about we not do all this stuff and show people the way to do it is learn how to be self-sufficient. Get a job. Learn how to invest. Understand the term compound interest. Understand equity, and I don't mean diversity, equity, inclusion. I'm talking about real equity. Understand how you can do everything with capital gains. None of this stuff gets taught to people. I talk to high school kids, I talk to college kids. Hey, explain to me what capital gains are. Huh? You don't know what capital gains are? You think to yourself right now, do you know what capital gains are and how it means anything to you? Do you? I mean, I could go on and on and on. There's so many things that our young people are never taught, and then it's too late. Well, it's not too late, but it's much harder. And then they wonder why the Department of Education needs to be scrapped, because you're not telling people what they need to, and you know what the word's going to be, prosper. Kids aren't taught to understand and embrace prosperity. It's never taught. The government never, both sides, never wanted people to learn prosperity. And so they become, like these people in the videos, completely beholden. Hopefully your children and grandchildren didn't, but they become beholden to the government store. Imagine all the money some of these people have received over how many years. When you count up the rent, when you count up the food, when you count up the medicine, in terms of the health care. When you count all that up, what is the annual cost per person to keep them dependent on the government? Now, what if you opened an investment account for them 20 years ago? But they wouldn't know how to do it, and they would probably blow it, and you'd be right back in the same situation because you weren't taught at a young age what it meant not to depend on the government.
If you want to be mad at somebody, go be mad at Congress. What Trump could do is he could use some of the tariff funds, if there's enough, and there might not be because the tariff thing is still kind of new, if there's enough to cover some of the EBT. But again, I kind of doubt that they will because of the waste, abuse, and the fraud that was going on within the program that was highlighted a couple months ago again. Never, ever, 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 ever trust the government with your well-being. Never. You are currently on SNAP and you're not going to get your SNAP or whatever next month. Start getting a plan together. Just get off the program. It's going to be a
See, smart people do that. Again, I'll take the analogy of the hurricane. Get a plan together. Honey, you got gas, we got some cash, we got some canned goods, we got water. There's a plan. And guess what? If this hurricane goes this way and goes back out to sea, we already have it in case the next one comes. The water's not going to go away. The canned goods aren't going to go away. They're going to sit there just in case. It's a lifeline. You're telling me we've got an entire legion of people who have no lifelines. If tomorrow something hit the fan, they're done. Completely done. If this is how you're wigging out now 10 days in advance, you know there's nothing left for them. They become complete walking zombies on November 2nd or 3rd. Be ready. If these videos are real, if they're not TikTok trends, if these things are real, understand what's about to happen on November 2nd or 3rd. We're going to have Hurricane Shaniqua all over the country. It's going to make landfall. It's going to landfall right up on you. Be ready.
Tile back and forth if it comes back at all. Ever, 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 ever trust the government.
What the welfare system and other kinds of governmental programs are doing is paying people to fail insofar as...
By the way, this is the amazing Thomas Sowell. And what he just said there, he could have ended the video right there. Welfare was designed to enhance and bring people to a state of failure as fast as possible. Let that sink in. The entire welfare program was not designed to help people, but rather to help them fail. The faster I could get you to failure, the quicker I would own you. And I could keep you forever. Most people don't have the way to extricate themselves from this drug. One of the worst drugs ever is complacency. And once you feel this kind of complacency and somebody puts their arms around you, you're done. And that's what welfare was designed to do. It's horrendous.
They fail, they receive the money. Insofar as they succeed, even to a moderate extent, the money is taken away. This is even extended into the school systems, where they will give money to schools with low scores.
Now, as you're looking at this video, you're saying to yourself, this is old. Yeah, it's old. Not from yesterday. People were analyzing this back then and go, wait a second. You are rewarding failure. You are telling people who are no longer contributing members of society, you did a good job, here's some. And by the way, we're not going to have to use food stamps anymore because people can see that they're food stamps. So we're going to use EBT. So we're going to reward even more failure. There were people who got food stamps who would sell them at bodegas because they didn't want to go into stores and count out food stamps. So it wasn't working bad enough. We need them to get and to spend more, so we have to make it easier for them to fail. I know most people won't talk about it like this. They're afraid. They're afraid of confronting the situation that these Democrats have put people in for decades. I speak of it with personal knowledge because, as I've told you, my dad was in construction back in the 70s, and we got to go in. He would take me to work with him, and we would go into these government projects, and every single year when there's a new group coming in, you got to renovate them. And I'm like, why would they treat this like this? Why would they do this things to these properties? Because they don't care. There's nothing invested. They don't care. It literally became a kennel. And I say that with shame, because many of them were of the same complexion. And I'm like, just because you live here and because the government's paying for it doesn't mean you shouldn't have any pride. I've mentioned this song before where Stevie Wonder said her clothes were used, but they were never dirty. These people don't care. It literally has manifested over decades where they have realized that failure is success.
So far as the school improves its education, the money is taken away so that you are subsidizing people to fail in their own private lives and become more dependent upon the handouts.
We have expectations built in today about the quality of life, the quality of job, the level of income for which one expects in return. Why? Because we look at the level around us that it takes us to have a fairly decent level.
No, that's not why. I may have all sorts of expectations. The question is, what can I do? If someone else is subsidizing my expectations will be far higher. Insofar as the Center for Advanced Study was subsidizing my expectations a few years ago, I refused to work at UCLA for the normal full professor's salary. Why should I when I can get the same money for being at the Center for Advanced Study with no hours, no duties, and no classes?
You see, one of the worst people to talk about welfare programs to are people who abandon it. Once you realize that, hey, this isn't too cool, they're subsidizing me to keep me in a position. You're the good house, you know what? I won't say the word, but you know, the house one. You know, you get it, right? Because you're the good. We'll take care of you. You'll be okay. Yeah, you just do what we tell you. And then if you have any sort of ambition or drive, you realize this program doesn't work for me. They want me to continue failing, and they'll reward it. But if I want more, then they're not going to support it. Let that sink in. You're on welfare. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to make something happen. I am going to start washing cars. I am going to go start picking up leaves or shoveling snow or anything, or shoveling poop. I remember telling you guys I was behind a car one day and somebody picked up a poop I'm taking a picture of the license plate. They had a scooper pooper business where they would drive around and pick up poop out of people's yards. Made a business out of it. Unfortunately, if that person was getting food stamps, they would kick you off because you were making money. At which point, well, I can't eat, so my business is just taking off. I only got 2 scoops to pick up. I'm only going to make like $25 today, but they tell me if I don't take up any poop, I get more food. What kind of system incentivizes failure? And so, as Thomas is saying, he realized it. I can't do this. I got better things I want to do with my life.
Welfare tomorrow. What will they do? What will be their immediate response? At what price to their small children and to their middle-aged children? Yes, they'll get a job. In fact, the statistics show that women, in fact, are the most successful through the employment program. But what has to supplement that typically is the provision of some kind of daycare arrangement. Either the individual woman has to earn enough money to be able to pay privately for her daycare, or in fact she is, quote, subsidized through this insidious corrupting set of programs run by the federal government, which in fact makes her employable and a taxpayer. It's an interesting notion of trying to get people in a productive mode.
Tom Sowell. It's incredible the way you start the story in the middle, as if there's a predestined amount of poverty, a predestined amount of unemployment, and that the welfare system is not itself in any way responsible.
Now, see, he hit it right there. You act as if this was a cause and effect type thing when it wasn't cause and effect. It was just you people putting these guardrails on many Americans and saying, don't have aspirations. Let me do a aspirational lobotomy on you so that you just stay in this spot forever. And then you transfer that to your children. And then what happens in that regard is that the people who live in these areas, who have other children who grow up and go, I want more, usually athletes, because athletes get scholarships and they can go and become big men on campus or big women on campus, and they can aspire to go to a different level, and like, you know what, I don't need this welfare. Well, it's kind of extended. You get a scholarship and you go to a campus and you score touchdowns and you get to have free food, but at the same time you're learning, hopefully. And if you're successful, you can go to a higher level in sports. But in any event, in order for you to get to that next level, you have to have aspiration that gets built in. And then what happens, and it has been said specifically to me, and I've told you this many times, and you guys may not have known where it came from, but it came directly from the welfare queens. You forget where you came from. They use that as it was supposed to be denigrating. You sold out. You forget where you came from. And many times I've retorted back to people, no, I don't forget at all where I came from. That's the reason I aspire to never go back to where I came from. So I can't forget it because I never want to be in that situation ever again. If I forgot where I came from, I could make a mistake and be right back there. So I will never, ever forget some of the things and what I had to live when my parents broke up and my mom was struggling and what, how she had 4 kids at home and what she had to do. I don't forget that. And I damn well gonna make sure I never go back there. Barry, why are you doing shows 7 days a week? Why are you working so hard? You got to be making decent money. You're buying houses and everything else. You know why? Because now it's past me. I already know I'm never going back there. I could stop tomorrow, and I feel confident I ain't ever going back there. But now I work because I need to make sure that Robin never goes back there in case I'm not here. I need to make sure that Ashley never goes back there if I'm not here. I need to make sure my grandkids never go back there. They never were there. Never experienced that if I'm not here. So all of that is driven by the one notion of, I didn't forget. That's the motivation that these people don't have and never built. They've never stepped out of that. They never took hardship and say, that hardship might as well have been a 45-pound plate. Shit, because to me, hardship means doing this, means working out so that you never go back to that physical state or mental state ever again. Ever.
People have been overcoming obstacles in this country from the beginning. Ordinary people have accomplished extraordinary things, and it happens every day. And you can too. It depends on your degree of ambition, how much you want it, how hard you're willing to work at it, and how much luck might come your way. Luck being defined as when preparation meets opportunity. Luck being defined as when preparation meets opportunity.
Says it all. Preparation meets opportunity. That's how you define luck. When people say, I'm lucky, or someone's lucky. No, I was prepared. I was prepared for when that opportunity presented itself. I was ready to seize the opportunity that was in front of me. I was ready because I saw the hurricane warnings off the coast. See, there was a time when I wasn't ready, and I got battered, and the storm really hit me. And I'm like, what? How am I going to get out of this? What am I going to do? I'm falling apart here. I wasn't ready. Well, every single one of you in the chat, y'all should be ready. You should be ready. It's coming. It's coming. I know one way. There's one way you can start getting ready. Hold on. Let me put your first step. You need to do that. That's your first step. That's how that's your bellwether. That's what you need to do to start getting ready. And once you do that, then the other stuff comes along with it. And you're like, wait a second, this feels different. Now what do I do? Now you just keep doing it every single day. It becomes a rep. And then your mind clears. And you realize, I don't need the government. I'm prepared for opportunity. Which means I'm lucky. You know, it's so funny when people say that. There was an old saying back in the hood, oh, you stepped in poop. No, I didn't. I'm ready. I just need the opportunity to open up so I can seize it. I'm watching film, playing football. I'm ready for this weekend. I'm going to seize the opportunity when I see this guy do that, and I'm going to put him on his butt. I'm ready. When Robin says yes to the date, okay, I'm ready. I know how to treat her. I'm ready. I didn't used to be ready. Many of you didn't used to be ready. Made all kinds of mistakes. Continued to make mistakes. But the opportunity is there, and you have to take it, and people can't tell you that you can't make it. Wonder why I always talk about prosperity? That's why. What Rush just said there, that's why. I found that piece, and I'm like, people have got to see this. Let me just play it one more time so you guys can hear this. The man was brilliant. I could only hope to be this much of what Rush is. Listen to this one more time.
People have been overcoming obstacles in this country from the beginning. Ordinary people have accomplished extraordinary things, and it happens every day. And you can too. It depends on your degree of ambition, how much you want it, how hard you're willing to work at it, and how much luck might come your way. Luck being defined as when preparation meets opportunity. Luck being defined as when preparation meets opportunity.
Some of y'all need to clip that. Some of y'all need to clip it and share it. I'm not going to push too much further with there, but that's, you can learn so much just from those 3-4 words. Luck is preparation meeting opportunity. Excuse me. So, lot to hear there. All right, so I'm going to play Mike Johnson's press conference today, but before that, where am I here? So I can get everything ready. What number? Hold on. Where's this? All right, so... Man, I was pumped up for that. Because these EBT things piss me off. Crazy. Microplastics are everywhere. In the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food we eat. Their effects are multiplying, wreaking havoc throughout our bodies, impacting heart and lung health, and even bone density. Our bones are the framework of our body, fueling movement, balance, and overall fitness. Scientists have also found that the accumulation of microplastics has severe consequences on the amount of muscle mass we retain. Even if you eat clean or avoid packaged food, exposure to these microplastics, these detrimental particles, is unavoidable. They infiltrate our systems, they cross the gut lining, and they're disrupting our ability to maintain our daily health and strength. A healthy gut is your first line of defense to fight back. Recent human studies have found there are strains of probiotics found only in kimchi that absorb and excrete microplastics. These probiotics are the armor for our gut to destroy and flush out these harmful toxins. Defend your body and restore your gut's natural balance with the power of Kimchi 1. All of the benefits of kimchi in one convenient capsule from in a world full of plastic. Give your gut the protection it deserves by using Kimchi 1. Many people here have gotten it. Today you can get 25% off your code with 25% off your order with code BARRY by clicking the link in the description below. Or for an even better deal, call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-418-6738 or go to mybrightcore.com/Barry. Had an interview with one of the specialists over at Brightcore coming up in the next day or so. Very interesting, talking about some really decent stuff. All right, so before I get to Mike Johnson, let me just go ahead and see if you guys have any comments you want to talk about. That's a Marcus Aurelius quote. Yes, it is. Stop buying shrinkflation fast food. Charity in the old days was provided by the church, neighbors, and religious organizations, not the government. Exactly. Stock up, folks. The truly needy need to be taken care of. Look to help local churches and take real food. Check on your neighbors' kids and the elderly as too. Good point. All my grands that are old enough to work to others still in school. Absolutely. That's very, very good. Poverty mentality is not just limited to the hood. You are absolutely correct. Where's the rest of that? Don't forget about the white trailer trash that depends on EBT for groceries. I said that. I didn't say exclusive. It just says a major demographic. Exactly. All right. So the iPhone has an apple they can eat. Government uses religion to manipulate morons. Yep. Pamela said this has been planned related to EBT. Where is that? And government shutdown. There will be violence and theft because of generational entitlement. LBJ started this crap. Off-duty cops need to guard grocery stores. Yes, they're gonna have to do something because if again, I say if because I just can't believe people would be that stupid to make those kind of videos. But if those videos are real, God help you if you live anywhere near where these people are who are going to come out like zombies. Because crazy. All right, so let's go into Mike Johnson's press conference this morning.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 22 of the Democrat shutdown. While it's already been, as we noted yesterday, the longest full government shutdown in history, October 22nd marks another landmark. This is now the second longest government shutdown of any kind ever in the history of our country, and it's just shameful. Democrats keep making history, but they're doing it for all the wrong reasons. The contrast is the split screen, and I've referenced that at this podium a few times already, but I just think it's an important thing to point out, because that contrast between the two parties grows more glaring with each passing day, and you can look at all the evidence for yourself. There is, of course, a literal split screen every day. You've got Republicans and Democrats out all over the airwaves, burning them up, speaking directly to the American people. But you'll note that there's a key difference between the messages of the two sides. The Republicans are all repeating the same simple truth, and that is why that message is resonating with the American people, and that's what the polling indicates. At the same time, on the other side, the Democrats are doing their very best to obscure and create distractions from that simple truth. So the reason that we find it important to come out here every day and repeat again the same simple truth is because they're trying so hard to cover that up. But there's also a figurative split screen. There's a literal one, but it's figurative as well. And I just wanted to spend a moment this morning and talk with you about that. On one side, you have the Republican Party, the party that controls the White House, the Senate, and the House. We call that unified government. It's the party that won the popular vote in every single swing state and made deep inroads with voters new to the Republican base. And we received that mandate gratefully, and we went immediately to work. So since the election in November, just in the last 9.5 months of this Congress, which began in January, Republicans have delivered incredible results for the American people. And we could stand up here and spend an hour going through just the bullet points and highlights of all that, but we put a few on the handy chart over here. But just think of what's been accomplished in the last 9.5 months. A couple of things listed here. We passed the historic working families tax cut, one of the most landmark pieces of legislation ever passed by the U.S. Congress for the benefit of the American people. We slashed taxes for hardworking Americans, geared for the lower and middle class earners who needed that assistance. We cut hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud, waste, and abuse from government. We solved the border crisis. We are working now to solve the crime crisis in major cities around America. We strengthened Medicaid. We improved health care access, and we lowered premiums with our legislation. We have restored peace through strength, thanks be to God, and we are ending wars around the globe. And we've restored common sense to a government that sorely needed it. That's part of the mandate that was given to us by the American people in the fall. And most recently, we did our jobs, and we passed a clean, nonpartisan CR to keep the government open for the people. Now look on the other side of that figurative split screen as demonstrated here. The lights are out. It's all dark. Why? Because what the Democrats have accomplished in 9.5 months is a government shutdown. A couple other things sort of related to that. You know, they have made a lot of TikTok videos. We give them credit for that. They've also assaulted law enforcement officers. One of them's on trial for that. They've openly embraced and rallied with communists and socialists, most recently across the country on Saturday. They voted to raise taxes on millions of hardworking Americans at the worst possible time. They have voted against reducing fraud, waste, and abuse in government, and they have now voted, collectively, Democrats in Congress have voted 12 times to keep the government closed down. But it doesn't stop there. The Democrat shutdown is a glaring example of just how far the Democratic Party has strayed from common sense. Remember the simple truth here. It was over a month ago now that we passed, the Republicans passed the clean, short-term, continuing resolution. It's nonpartisan. No gimmicks, no tricks, no riders, no partisan Republican policy priorities added to that. It's 24 pages in length, as we've discussed so many times, and it is very, very simple. Why? Because it was a very simple good faith effort on our part to preserve our ability to keep negotiating on the full year funding bills. And of course, the other big issues facing the American people. So we wanted to keep the lights on. But what did the Democrats do? Instead of receiving that, voting for it as they have always done in the past, they broke from history and they rejected that. And they offered a counterproposal. Ours was a clean CR. We call theirs a dirty CR, and you all know why. Because they added $1.5 trillion in new spending that would be a mandate, including hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars for health care for illegal aliens. Go to page 57, section 2141 of what they filed. They want to restore funding for left-wing pet projects in foreign countries. And I've given you a list of some of the crazy things that they would include in that. $500 million for liberal news outlets like NPR and PBS on the backs of taxpayers, and the removal, remember, they wanted to eliminate the $50 billion that Republicans got signed into law by President Trump on July 4th to prop up our rural hospitals. And here's the kicker. The Democrats can't even agree on what they want right now. If you polled congressional Democrats on what it would take to reopen the government, you would not get a uniform answer. Every reporter in the room, by the way, should be asking them that question. Democrats put together this haphazard grab bag of crazy leftist policy proposals when they knew that it would not be agreed upon, and they knew that it was clear that Republicans were working to do the responsible thing and offer a clean CR to fund the government. That's our most basic job here. In their desperation now, they're trying their very best to somehow blame Republicans for the forthcoming health care crisis that they themselves created. By way of just very quick review, for the record, because they're trying to obscure this as well. Let's remember the true origins of the boondoggle that is American health care under Obamacare. Democrats wrote that bill. They passed it into law without a single Republican vote. During the COVID pandemic, Democrats created temporary Obamacare credits, again, without a single Republican vote. Democrats then voted to extend those credits. They set the expiration date on it. And then when they held the majority in the Senate, it was Democrats who chose not to extend those credits beyond this year. Now, as we approach their own self-imposed expiration date, now they are breathlessly insisting to you, and on all the interviews, that somehow it's a Republican crisis. Give me a break. The facts are the facts. We are up here sharing the simple facts and truth. And as John Adams said, facts are stubborn things. Democrats are the ones who manufactured this entire situation without a single Republican vote. And now, when the chickens are coming back home to roost, they're trying to blame the other team. It is utter nonsense. And you should call them on it. That's the job of the press. And continue to do that every single time. Clearly, this is a complicated issue, this whole healthcare subsidy thing. And there's hundreds of different views on it, as I've explained. So Republicans cannot and will not solve it in a backroom deal. Chuck Schumer has been suggesting that 4 leaders should go into a smoke-filled back room like they used to do in the old days and create this solution. It's not a possible thing to do. It was never appropriate. It's not possible to put on a continuing resolution because it's such a complex issue. Issues of this magnitude deserve deep thought and deliberation. That's how this system works here. And as soon as Chuck Schumer reopens the government, all of our members will have an opportunity to engage in the very important discussion of how to make Obamacare affordable. But we won't engage in Democrats' hostage-taking, nor will we pay a ransom. We certainly won't engage in their unserious proposals as long as Democrats continue to act like unserious lawmakers. I'm just going to say this morning, enough is enough. Now, with us today with the leadership team are 2 leaders in Congress. One is Chairman Bruce Westerman of the Committee on Natural Resources. And we also have with us Congressman Mike Simpson, who's our lead appropriator for the Department of the Interior, which funds and oversees our beautiful national parks. Both are here today to share an update on how this shutdown impacts all those operations. But I'll note, as I bring Chairman Westerman up first, that when President Obama shut down the national parks and the National Mall in 2013, is a real hardship for the American people. And the Trump administration is trying to handle this differently. They've gone to great lengths as much as they can to protect Americans' access to our national parks, while Democrats continue to hold government funding hostage. They'll have more to share on that, the experts on the subject, and I'm happy to bring them up now. Thank both these gentlemen for their hard work. I'll turn it over to Chairman Westerman. Yeah, bud.
Thank you, Speaker, and good morning, everyone. First off, I want to say thank you to the thousands of federal employees across the country that are still in the field, going to work every day, oftentimes without pay, to do their jobs to steward and protect our public lands, from Park Service to Forest Service Rangers to Fish and Wildlife officers and all the other management and support staff doing their jobs in uncertain times. Thank you. Leadership starts at the top. And I commend President Trump, Secretary Burgum, and Secretary Rollins for the job that they've done and for their leadership in keeping our public lands open to the public. It's not always been that way during shutdowns, as the speaker mentioned. But this can't continue indefinitely. Despite all the extraordinary efforts being made, at some point, without funding, the public lands will not be accessible to the public. The longer this unnecessary shutdown lasts, the more negative consequences that we'll start to see. Without regular staffing, litter will pile up and park ecosystems will be affected. It's fall time. It's a wonderful time of the year. It's a wonderful time to visit our public lands with crisp weather and beautiful foliage. Fall, personally, is my favorite time of the year, and it's that way for many Americans who enjoy being outdoors. When Americans save up to visit a national park or a national forest, that experience should exceed their expectations. Families visiting our parks are now being met with disappointment as visitor services and experiences are reduced. As the shutdown drags on, families will cancel their vacations or day trips to our public lands. It's hunting season all across the country, different types of hunting seasons across the country, and public lands are oftentimes the only place that people who like to hunt and fish have to recreate. For everyone's sake, and who uses and appreciates our public lands and appreciates our public employees, it's time to end the shutdown. You know, as we look here in Washington, the negative effects of the shutdown and what that will have on public lands, I just want to highlight one issue, and that's the Great American Outdoors Act. This was a bipartisan bill that was signed into law by President Trump during his first term. It's something that there's a lot of bipartisan support to work on right now. But, you know, tomorrow we had planned a field hearing on the Great American Outdoors Act so that we could reauthorize this piece of legislation that's putting as much as $1.9 billion a year into maintenance backlog on our federal lands. I've had an opportunity to visit many of these parks and to see the wonderful work that's being done. It's something that Republicans, Democrats, and independents, I think, all appreciate the fact that we're taking care of our public lands. But Congress is not here working on those issues because of the shutdown. And we need to get back to work. We need to start putting the American people first and putting these federal lands and giving them the place and the position that they deserve. And we simply can't do that when the government is shut down. So enough of the shutdown. Let's get it over, get people where they're paid, where they're going out and doing their jobs that they want to do, and getting America back in the position we need to be in and getting Congress back and functioning. And with that, I'll turn it over to my friend Mike Simpson from the Appropriations Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, and thanks to the leadership for inviting Chairman Westerman and I here to talk a little bit about the impact that this shutdown is having on our public lands and our national parks. I couldn't agree more with House leadership, their position on this shutdown. House Republicans, as you are well aware, did not shut the government down. We voted to open the government and not shut it down. It's the House Democrats that and the Senate Democrats that are voting to shut the government down and keep it shut. We gave them exactly what they wanted. We gave them a clean CR, no gimmicks, no policy writers, short term. There were people who wanted this to go on until January or February. They wanted a short term. That's exactly what they got. And then surprisingly, they reversed themselves and voted against it. This shutdown is causing and potentially causing even more damage for the American people. While the Democrats in their press conferences say how much they care about the American people, that they're fighting for the American people, when you look at the impacts of what they're doing, clearly the evidence is the reverse of that. They don't really care about the American people. What they care about is keeping their leadership positions, and that's exactly what's happening. They say that they care about federal employees. The fact that we have furloughed federal employees that aren't getting paid, clearly the evidence shows that they don't really care about federal employees. This is about two leaders trying to keep their jobs, and that's unfortunate. You know, our national parks are our historic treasures. Ken Bird's called them America's best idea. The Park Service goes to great lengths to protect our resources, and the Park Police provide critical safety measures for our visitors in our national parks. Under the Democrats' shutdown, the lack of funding, for staff and maintenance projects could cause irreparable damage to these national parks. Some people say, well, it's the end of the year. Most of the national parks are visited during the summer. Last year, we had 331 million people visit our national parks. They are truly America's best idea, in my view. In October of last year, we had 28 million people visit our national parks. 28 million in just October. I agree with Chairman Westerman. I think it's the best time of year to visit our national parks, with the colors changing, warm days, cool nights, all that kind of stuff. I love Yellowstone in October, and actually in November when you get there and you see the first snowfall and a few things like that. It's a great time to visit our national parks. But we have families who have been planning to visit our national parks for years sometimes, putting aside the resources, that are now canceling their visit to our national parks because of this shutdown and the impact that it could potentially have on their vacations. Unfortunately, that's very damaging. We know many people who are canceling their trips. But this administration is trying to keep the national parks open. Unlike the Obama administration when there was a shutdown, they actually put tape around the open air monument, the World War II monument, so that people that came in, veterans that came in to see it, couldn't visit the open air monument. They tried to make it as painful as possible. This administration is trying to do just the reverse. They're trying to keep the parks open, they're trying to keep our public lands open, and trying to make it as least painful as possible. But it's going to get more and more painful as time goes on. I applaud this administration for their efforts to mitigate the impacts that this is going to have on our national parks. As I said, 28 million Americans visited our national parks in October, 24 million in November. So they were used all year long, whether it's just the great parks out in the West, Yellowstone and Glacier and Yosemite and Grand Canyon, or whether it's the Everglades in Florida or Arcadia in Maine. These national parks are a treasure to America, and our Americans love them. There's one other thing I would like to say. You've all heard us as appropriators, and actually as all Republicans have said, we need to get back to regular order. You all know what that means. What it means for those listening is that we pass bills, individual bills, we bring them to the floor, we go through the amendment process, we go to conference, and then we bring a conference report back between us and the Senate. This leadership team, we haven't done that for about 15 to 20 years. This leadership team that you see behind me has moved us in that direction more than any team I've seen ever. We are actually ready to go to conference with 3 bills right now that have passed the House. The Speaker plans on bringing, and the Majority Leader plan on bringing up the rest of the appropriation bills and trying to get back to regular order. You can't do that overnight. It takes some time. But they have moved us in that direction, and we will get back to doing it the way that it should be done, where we do individual bills, we conference them with the Senate, we bring them back to pass them. So I applaud this leadership team and the efforts that they're making, but we can't do it while the government is shut down. We need to open this government back up, and yes, there are many other issues that need to be debated and worked on. We can't work on those. As Westerman said, Chairman Westerman, can't have hearings and that type of stuff when we're shut down. So we need to change that. We need to open this government back up, get rid of this stupid Schumer shutdown, the 3 S's, I guess, and let us do our job. That's why we're here. I get a kick out of listening to the press conference from some of my senators saying, well, the House has been on vacation for a month. This is not what I call a vacation. If they think showing up once a day and casting 1 vote is work, they need to come over to the House side and see what we're doing. We're working with our constituents, we're out talking to people, and we're back in Washington doing our job too. So we'll continue to do our job, end this stupid Schumer shutdown, and let us do our job. And now I'd turn it over to the great Majority Leader of the House, Steve Scalise. Thanks.
Thank you, Chairman Simpson. Preach it. Appreciate as well Chairman Westerman and the work that these great chairmen continue to do to try to keep government functioning as best as possible in the midst of very difficult circumstances that Democrats themselves created.
I do think it's important, as we're at this point, that we look back over the last 9 months and really look at the difference between the two parties in Washington. And Speaker Johnson laid a lot of this out. You can see the poster. But just think about what happens every day here. Republicans wake up every day working with President Trump to try to get this country moving forward, to address and fix problems that, frankly, were created by Democrats. And what does the Democrat Party do every single day? Every day they wake up and just see what President Trump is doing and find a way to oppose it. Doesn't matter what he wants to do. President Trump came into office day one, said he's going to secure America's border, was actually elected on it overwhelmingly. 80% of the American people agreed with President Trump and House and Senate Republicans who said that should be a priority. And we actually set course to do that. And we have done just that, secured America's border. And what did Democrats do every step of the way? They said no. They voted no to secure the border. President Trump said, we're going to try to get our economy back on track. We're going to stabilize the tax code so that no American family has a tax increase. Every American family was facing, on most cases, a 30+% tax increase. President Trump said no family deserves that. Let's stabilize the tax code and have no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, so blue-collar workers can actually have more money in their pockets and empower them to do more for their families. President Trump said that. We agreed. What did every Democrat in Washington say? No. They didn't just say no. They all voted no to that. President Trump said we ought to produce more energy in America. Chairman Westerman was at the heart of a lot of those policies. You actually had to change policy to do it. So Congress and President Trump worked together to lower prices at the pump. Every American family today is benefiting from those great policies because they're paying less when they fill up their car every single day. And you would think, gee whiz, that would be a good area where all people in Washington, Republicans and Democrats, come together. But because President Trump said yes, what did every Democrat say? No. Every Democrat voted no to lower your energy costs just because President Trump said he was going to do it. President Trump also said, I'm going to do something that no president in decades had done, and that is modernize our air traffic control system. It seemed like at least once a month at some airport in America, big, medium, small, there was a near miss where an airplane almost ran into another airplane. In some cases, did tap or run into another airplane. And it was happening because our air traffic control system is still based on 1980s technology. I was actually a student of computer science and learned how to program computers in the 1980s when we had floppy drive disks. You have to Google what that is today because we don't even have them anymore, except where? At all of our major airports across America. LaGuardia running on floppy disks from the 1980s. And President Trump said, we ought to do something about that. We ought to fix it. How about we modernize our air traffic control system? Now, this isn't a new idea. You would say, well, gee whiz, why wasn't that done in the 90s, in the 2000s? For goodness sake, the computing technology on this iPhone is more modern and capability and competently technologically advanced than what a lot of our air traffic control systems are using, except it cost money. It cost billions of dollars. And so previous presidents, Republican and Democrat alike, just didn't have the time or the priority to find the money to go modernize that system. And so some days flights across America would get canceled. It was happening over and over again, at least once a month, anywhere in America, disrupting the lives of American families who just kind of figured, I guess that's just the way it is because government's in charge. Well, Donald Trump said, all right, we're going to change things because that's what Donald Trump does. He finds a problem and he works to fix them. And again, you would think everybody would come together and say yes, except because Donald Trump said it, every Democrat had to say no. And in fact, when we put it in the bill, every Democrat voted no against modernizing our air traffic control system, just because it was Donald Trump's idea. This is a sick and twisted and lost, rudderless ship of a political party. That's who we're dealing with. When the press asks, gee whiz, is there something else you can offer these folks in a negotiation to try to get this off a ramp and find a better way to get the government open? The speaker's told you over and over again, there's something we can negotiate with. But when the party is so rudderless and morally bankrupt that just because President Trump has an idea, the Democrat Party's visceral reaction is just to say no. Right now, he's actually renovating the White House, building a new ballroom. I mean, anybody that's ever been to a state dinner, like the White House has been renovated over and over again. There wouldn't be an Oval Office if there weren't renovations by previous presidents. The West Wing was a renovation by previous presidents to make it better for all future presidents. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. He won't enjoy most of the time of that, but future presidents will, because in the future, when you have a state dinner, when we bring world leaders in, which we do all the time, and you host a president of a foreign country, a prime minister. I've been to some of those. Some of you have covered them. Where do you go? You walk outside of the White House in the rain sometimes to go to a tent, to host a world leader. That's what we do today. And President Trump said that's a disgrace. How about we do better? And not only did he say we were going to build a great ballroom that we can host these events, he funded it privately. He put up some of his own money, and you would think, well, gee whiz, at least they can agree to that. It's not even taxpayer money. It's going to be a permanent renovation that'll enhance the White House for all future presidents. What does every Democrat say? They say no to that. They say no to everything he does because they just are angry about the results of the election from last year. They're upset with the American people, because the American people said we want somebody who's going to wake up every day and say, how can I solve Middle East peace? I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to take the old failed ways of doing it for an answer. I'm going to figure out a way to go do it, and he does. How do I work to help improve the lives of Americans? He goes and finds a way to say yes, and because he says yes, Democrats find a way to say no. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace, but now it's having real impacts on American families. With this shutdown, it's not just their everyday feud with Donald Trump. It's become now a problem where American families are paying the price. Let's talk about what just came out a couple of days ago. The USDA sent a letter to all of the states saying, quote, if the current lapse in appropriations continues, there will be insufficient funds to pay full November SNAP benefits for approximately 42 million individuals across the nation. 42 million people across America are going to suffer from those SNAP benefits that they count on right before Thanksgiving, because Chuck Schumer and Democrats are so angry with President Trump that they just want to find a way to say no. And when they say no, now they're saying no to 42 million families who will go without food, so that Democrats can show their far left radical base that they're fighting President Trump, as if they've got to show off to some radicals who come march on the mall and hold up effigies to murder the president, 8647. You saw the signs. Over 800,000 people in my home state of Louisiana get food benefits through the SNAP program. Yesterday we talked about Senator Ossoff, who one Senate aide said on the record to The Hill in that article, said that he's more afraid of, if he votes to open the government, he will lose the clicks he's getting from foreign states and the small donor donations that add to about $3 million. That's what he's afraid of. Well, let's look at Senator Ossoff's state of Georgia. 1.4 million people are going to face losing SNAP benefits just in his home state. Now, does he want each of them to send about $2 each to him to make up for the $3 million he's getting from California, in Illinois, in New York, in Minnesota? Is that what it's going to take? Because he's causing pain on people in his home state by voting no. Maybe he needs to go on vacation instead of showing up every day, as Senator Simpson said, showing up to vote no to inflict pain on 1.4 million people in the state of Georgia. That's what he's doing. So this is having real impacts on real families. We're here working, and the House has passed the bill, despite 99% of Democrats voting no. Again, President Trump said yes, they say no, doesn't matter what the issue is. And the American people are sick and tired of it, because now it's affecting them. Over 40 million low-income Americans are the ones who qualify for SNAP benefits. They're going to be denied food starting in November, according to USDA, because these guys just want to show their far left radical base that they hate President Trump. It's disgusting, and it's having a devastating impact on millions and millions of Americans across the country. Our whip, Tom Emmer.
Well, Democrats have voted 12 times to shut the government down. 12 times. And now they're refusing to support legislation that would help alleviate some of the pain they've inflicted on the American people as a result. Earlier this week, the minority leader in the House said he opposes legislation that would pay our troops and essential federal workers during the Democrat shutdown. This includes Border Patrol agents, air traffic controllers, TSA agents, and more. All of whom, by the way, as these speakers have pointed out, are showing up to work without receiving a paycheck while the Democrats play their shutdown games. Some would say the soon-to-be former House Democrat leader went so far as to call this legislation, quote, a political ploy. Well, I'll tell you what a political ploy is. Holding the American people hostage just so you can avoid getting the guillotine from your far left base. That's a political ploy. The good news is this madness can end immediately if 5 Senate Democrats would grow a spine, stand up to the radicals in their party, and pass our clean CR and reopen the government. It contains no partisan policy riders, no gimmicks. In fact, it's the same spending levels that Democrats supported just 6 months ago and that you've heard repeatedly they passed 13 times under the Biden administration. We have made this plain and simple. We have made the process as plain and simple as possible. To our Senate Democrat colleagues, it's not too late to do the right and reasonable thing. Pass our CR and reopen the government for the people that you are actually elected to serve. Let's get it done today. With that, Lisa McClain.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. And I think the leader said it best. I think you're right. President Trump could have the cure for cancer, and the Democrats would vote no because it came from President Trump. We have to start looking at the policies, and I think right here explains everything. I mean, Democrats have been playing political theater for 3 weeks with Republicans continuing to work and deliver some results. And here are, again, some examples, some facts. Right? Just a few days ago, Congressman Ryan McKenzie visited a Head Start program that relies on federal funding and delivered food to TSA agents. Congressman Mark Alford visited multiple rural hospitals and healthcare centers. And Congressman Jeff Crank met with credit unions to ask for flexibility with federal employees who are actually missing paychecks. Real families are paying the price for the Democrats' shutdown. And what are the Democrats leveraging the shutdown to get? Ask yourself, what is their leverage? More wasteful spending? While Republicans are working at home, Democrats are fighting for weird programs, like halfway across the world, right? Think about it. Just think about it for a minute. They're sacrificing Head Start right down your street to produce Iraq Sesame Street. So they'd rather spend money on Iraqi Sesame Street than fund your Head Start programs. But President Trump is, the bad guy for putting America first. Scratch your head on that one. They're risking the safety of American skies for LGBTQI programs in the Balkans. Right? Putting the Balkans over the safety of our skies. They're jeopardizing millions of paychecks to Americans to support woke programs in Honduras, Zimbabwe, Mexico, Venezuela, and Lebanon. Okay. I don't know about you, but I think that is absolutely shameful. Let me be clear. A shutdown should never be used as leverage for more wasteful spending, and especially when that spending isn't here on American soil. But that's what Schumer's dirty deal is doing. You heard me talking about it the other day, and you heard our speaker talk about it, the split screen, clean CR to work for the American people, Schumer's dirty deal CR to work for everybody but the American people. Wasteful spending at the expense of American people is not what this shutdown is about. But I want to let the American people know, Republicans will not cave to Schumer's dirty deal. We will not cave to their wasteful spending. We will hold the line, and we will. I promise you, we will continue to work for the men and women and families who serve, protect, and build our great nation. Thank you.
Questions? Chad, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Can you characterize some of the dissonance inside your conference about the strategy that Republicans have? There was some criticism on the call yesterday saying that this shutdown strategy is old and Republicans need to have new tactics.
That was the word that was used. There was one member of the Republican conference. These are supposed to be, confidential off-the-record calls among colleagues, but some of you guys listen in, and I make a pleading at the beginning of every call that you wouldn't do that and wouldn't characterize it, but whoever the leak is, whatever. Beth Van Dyne was quoted. Beth is a dear friend. We've had lots of conversations about this. She was not complaining. It was not dissonance, Chad. She was pointing out that we have a lot of important work to do before the end of the year, and it was a very pleasant, constructive comment about strategy. You all have heard me say from the podium a few times, we're not pursuing a political strategy here. We're not. We're just simply trying to get the government open, and that's why the nonpartisan clean CR was the obvious vehicle to do that. And so we're not making political calculations here. We're making calculations on behalf of the American people. How can we get the government operating as soon as possible so they can get all these vital services and paychecks restored? And that's what this is about. So, if you called each individual House Republican right now, we're almost 100%, probably 99.8%, okay, of every House Republican understands exactly why we're in the situation we're in. Are we all anxious to get back to work here for regular legislative session? Absolutely.
She wanted the House to come back into session.
No, that's not what she said. If you had listened in directly on the phone, you would know. You can ask her about it. No, she said the message is feeling old, and I said, you know what, Beth, you're right, because we come out here and say the same thing over and over every day, but there is a method to that madness, because as I explained in my comments here, we have to repeat the simple truth over and over. Why? Because the Democrats are in an all-out assault on the truth. They're trying to obscure and distract, and you see all the different shiny objects they're trying to make everyone look at every day. I will tell you that the best evidence I have for you this morning, so that you know that the Democrats caused this shutdown, is because if the Republicans were responsible for this shutdown, that would lead the news in every mainstream media outlet every single night. It would be top fold of every newspaper on the front page every single day. Some of the mainstream media outlets aren't even covering it right now. Why? Because they're trying to give cover to the Democrats who have caused this. Look, everybody knows the facts. The American people are not stupid. And we're in here every day appealing to their common sense and relaying the facts, and thankfully those facts are saturating. Yeah.
I do want to point out that the shutdowns led the Today Show for about the last 2 days.
Oh, good. Thank you for that. Okay, thank you, Today Show. Thank you.
Make sure you get clear about that.
Thank you.
Secondarily, some of your Republican colleagues have raised concerns about the Trump administration opening up the market to Argentinian beef farmers, saying that it could prioritize them over American beef farmers. What do you say to your Republican colleagues about that move by the administration, and what are you doing as a Republican Congress to help American farmers, beef farmers in particular?
Well, we're doing a lot of work. We had some discussion on that yesterday, and I don't know the latest developments, but I can tell you there have been some over the last 24 hours. Harriet Hageman is one of the members of Congress from Wyoming, and she has lots of cattle ranchers and was articulating some of their thoughts and ideas, and she was connected to USTR and to the White House. And they're having those thoughtful discussions. The White House doesn't want any unintended consequences. What they're trying to do is improve the lives of everyday Americans, make our economy work again, and make sure that we are treated fairly by trading partners around the world. And there's lots of complications and a lot of moving parts when you're talking about trade agreements, renegotiating old trade agreements between, over 100 nations all at once. But they've done an extraordinary job, and they're working to fine-tune all those details, and you'd have to direct specific questions about it to the White House, because I don't really know. Yes, ma'am.
Leader Thune said it's time for the House to start thinking about coming back and passing a longer
No, I'm not sure that's what he said. I mean, he and I visited yesterday for about an hour, and Leader Thune and I are 100% aligned on all of this, as we are with the president. In fact, Leader Thune and I spent some time with the president on the phone yesterday about all this, and I was with the president in the White House the night before for a couple of hours. What we're talking about is that obviously the calendar is being eaten up by all this political nonsense by the Democrats. And I used the word, it's getting a little dicey in here yesterday. Some of you quoted, Chad quoted me, I saw it this morning. I don't know how else to describe it. Look, we're running out of time to do very important, necessary things. And as Mike Simpson, Chairman Simpson pointed out here earlier, as one of the lead appropriators, chairman of one of those subcommittees, he noted that the date of November 21 was decided upon by the experts in the field, the appropriators themselves, in a bipartisan agreement. They agreed they needed 7 more weeks. Some people, as Chairman Simpson noted, some people wanted the CR to go all the way into the middle of next year, and there was all sorts of varying opinions. But the Republicans and Democrats on the Appropriations Committee came together and agreed on that appropriate date. But it was calculated to allow enough time to finish the job. I think all of them, when they decided upon that date, were in good faith. And they said, and the Democrats said to us, please make it clean. Please don't add Republican priorities, because then we can get the job done. We did exactly that. We have been in good faith every single day on this, and they are eating up the clock. So we're getting closer to November. It is going to be more and more difficult with each passing hour to get all the appropriations done on time. We acknowledge that, but we have to decide this on a day-by-day basis.
Last question.
Yes, ma'am. Second row, right here. Yeah.
How comfortable are you with the president apparently seeking $230 million from the Department of Justice?
I don't know the details about that. I've just read it. I didn't talk with him about that. I know that he believes he's owed that reimbursement. What I heard yesterday was if he receives it, he was going to consider giving it to charity. I mean, he doesn't need those proceeds, but we're for the rule of law. We're for what is just and right. And it's just absurd that, I mean, as has been noted here several times this morning, they attack him for everything he does. It doesn't matter what it is. This whole dust-up about the White House, just by way of quick review, because I'm an amateur historian, you'll understand, the White House has been renovated many times over the years, you understand. I mean, it was built between 1792 and 1800, right? The British burned it down practically in 1814, and then they rebuilt it in the early 1820s. And ever since, like, we've had many presidents renovate and add things to the White House. Teddy Roosevelt built the whole West Wing. Who was it? FDR, with Taft, I think, added the Oval Office. FDR made additions. I mean, Truman ripped everything up to put a bowling alley in. FDR had added the swimming pool, I think. Barack Obama added a basketball court. President Trump's going to add the greatest improvement to the White House in the history of the building since it was originally constructed in 1800. The ballroom is going to be glorious. It's going to be used for everybody. And by the way, hey, Democrats, if you win the White House back, you get to use it too. This is for the American people, and he's using private funds to do it. How in the world could they oppose that? The only logical reason is because they have Trump derangement syndrome, and that's what explains a lot of this. 2 things. They want to oppose the president, and Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are scared that they're going to lose their jobs. We all know that. I've said it over and over. It is an objective fact, and you can see it themselves. I wish that you guys would chase them down and call them up and ask them what it is they're demanding. This madness in the counterproposal, what I told you about, is the offer still on the table? They can't even articulate what they want. You know why? Because this was never about a solution on health care or anything else. This was about a spectacle. It was about a political distraction, and it was so that they could show a fight to the Marxist left in the Democratic Party. Look at the split screen. I'll leave you with that. Thanks so much.
He's absolutely right. It was never going to get resolved. It was all a spectacle, all a distraction from the ineptitude of the Democrats, and also their TDS on full display. Fight every single thing. You should know that by now, because you're watching insanity by them being pissed off about the renovations to the East Wing. That in and of itself should show you everything, tell you everything about how these people are bat poop crazy with no end in sight. Hey, listen, I want to tell you guys, I had been telling you about the twofer knife deal. They're not offering that today, or as I say this, where is this? Hold on a second. Where is my button here that I'm supposed to click? And of course, I may have to come back here. Where's my button? I always have these buttons I'm supposed to click, and of course, it's not here right now. So I will be right back in 1 second to fix this button. That didn't take too long. I'm supposed to put this button up here. Wow, whoa, where'd that go? That's really weird. It took me completely off the screen. So I'm not really sure why that's doing that. It's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to let me be able to talk and do some things. I think I know why. Hold on, one more. All right, I think I got it. There it is. Oh, goodness. Well, I'm so sorry, but I have these contractual obligations. I have to do it correctly or I get in trouble. But in any event, we've been telling you about the Patriot Addict 2 for sale. This one is just the one. We're just going to give one free knife away. And I don't mean one. As many as you want can have this. But instead of having 2 knives, we're going to do 1 knife today. It's still free. All you have to do is click the QR code right here. This knife normally sells for $70. You're going to be able to pick it up for free. Absolutely free. Just pay the shipping, which is about $12 or $14. As I've shown you many a times, this knife has got some good size to it. It's got some good weight to it. It is very, very sharp. It has a window breaker on this end. It has a seatbelt cutter with its own blade up there that you can just go ahead and cut the seatbelt if you're stuck in a car. And this knife is very sharp. Robin uses it for fishing and gutting fish, and I use mine for everything to do with cutting Amazon boxes and everything else. And obviously, it's a good self-defense piece. Right here, you can get it for free. Just pay shipping. Normally, a $70 deal. You get it for about 12 or 15 bucks. Just go ahead and go to the QR code right over there. And I'd like to thank the people at Patriot Addict for partnering with me on the show. So anyway, thank you guys very much. 100% off. Just go ahead and get it. All right, so before we go, I try to be as magnanimous as possible, but I guess it still comes across the wrong way. And what I mean by when I was talking about the EBT stuff, I told you that some lady emailed me yesterday and she was upset because it seemed as though I was being flippant. And she emailed me during the break and said, nope, I understand. Okay, I get you. It's only for people who are stuck on it as a lifestyle. I'm not talking about the everyday person. I'm talking about people who use it as a lifestyle enhancement. But as I was explaining it, SV, it's your fault, SV, that I'm going here. SV sent me a comment. And the comment is from Bambi Lopez, and she says, I challenge you, Barry, to eat cornbread, buttermilk, and only good food staples for 1 month. No dining out or deliveries either. Put yourself in their shoes. Just saying. I'm a California senior on SSI. It's hard. Put myself in their shoes. If you didn't listen to what I said I walked in those shoes. I chose voluntarily to toss them in the trash and never put those shoes on ever again. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, turned it into a car wash rag. That's the part you're not getting. It's not a matter, and it wouldn't be a challenge. I don't have to go do that. I've already done it. You ever know what it's like to eat ramen three times a day as a meal? Or to eat Spam a couple times a day? Kraft macaroni and cheese? I've already done it. Many of you have already done it. It's not a challenge. It's called survival. It was life. And the thing about eating Kraft macaroni, cheese, and Spam and ramen was it motivated me. It said, make sure you never have to do this ever again. I don't know why people feel the need to say, you don't know what we go through. What makes you think that? What makes you think I don't know what you've gone through? You didn't ask. There was another guy here who wrote this. Let me put this up on the screen. Most of us do not have the opportunity to own assets, Barry. We weren't born in the best generation that was afforded opportunity. Working hard is no longer enough. Capital gains only applies to rich people. Let me take that sentence by sentence. Most of us do not have the opportunity to own assets. Really? Who took the opportunity away from you? Who is stopping you from seizing on opportunities that could be available to you? Who told you, nope, you can't have it. You're an opportunity-less person. I challenge you. Tell me who took opportunities off the table. Next part. We weren't born in the best generation that was afforded opportunity. What generation is that? My grandson's 16. I don't even know what they're called. They're not X or Y or millennials or boomers. I don't even know what young people today are. And you're thinking that there's no opportunity? That's you. Your mind is already done. You're waving the white flag. I'm done. There's no opportunity. I wasn't born at the right time. I'm toast. That's what you're saying. Working hard is no longer enough. How do you know? If you say you don't have an opportunity, and you say you weren't born in the right generation, how do you know working hard isn't enough? And then your last part says capital gains only applies to rich people. What's your definition of rich? And I didn't know when you do your schedule and do that with your taxes and you apply capital gains that it says, hold up, you're not allowed to do anything with capital gains unless you're rich. Everything you just wrote is BS. And I'm sorry to call you out, but you posted it, and I don't know if you're still here, but the only reason I'm talking about it is you got to stop listening to these people. You got to stop listening to these naysayers. You got to stop listening to limiting beliefs. It will poison you. It will keep you in the same situation you are right now. I don't know how to change people's mindsets and let them understand how they can turn that entire conversation around. Once again, let me read you what he wrote, and I'm gonna change that. You ready for it? Barry, I don't know what opportunities are available to me. Are there people out here who can show me what opportunities are available? I don't feel like I was set out for this. I don't feel like I was born at the right time. Are opportunities even available for people like me? Working hard, I think, could work, but I don't know how I should be applying my time. Can you help me to show me how to apply my time? And as far as capital gains, can you explain to me what capital gains are? I'd like to understand how it can apply to me, even though I don't consider myself rich. The problem is, and there's a lot of people in the chat, and I lose subscribers and SV boots people, is people have tossed in. They've waved the white flag on life and they think it can't happen. Let me just say this. Forget my real estate, forget everything in the past, playing football, forget all that. I am 65 years old. Don't feel it. But I'm making videos. And I'm wondering right now, what opportunity did I need to begin making videos? Well, most people just needed this. Eventually you buy more lights and you buy microphones and you buy cameras, but you can start right here. When you tell me you don't have an opportunity, you're talking to the wrong person, bro. We have 360,000 subscribers, and it all started with one video. Didn't have to pay anybody. Didn't have to ask any permission. Just had to say one day, all right, who wants to watch this? So I want you to tell me, since you're talking to a 65-year-old who started something completely new, from scratch. You can go back in my channel and see, oh, Barry used to talk about real estate, and then he talked about social media marketing, or vice versa, and then he talked about real estate, and then he talked about the Miami Dolphins, and then he started talking about Trump. You can go back and look in the history of the channel. What opportunity don't you have? You're talking to the wrong person when you say you don't have opportunity. I got to call you on that and say you're full of it. There's plenty of opportunity. There's an abundance of opportunity. And then you can do more things once you start being successful on that one opportunity. Man, it hurts me sometimes when I hear people say, I don't have any opportunity. That's really sad. Really flipping sad. When people actually take the time to type that out to let everybody else know, I am checked out. I have waved the white flag and I'm done. Let me just tell you this. Every single person you watch, myself, Ben, Benny, insert name, started by one video. That's it. And they may have made videos for years without making any money, but they kept going. So don't tell me the lame ass excuse that you don't have any opportunity. The reason that might be true to you is because you haven't explored what's available. Every single one of you in the chat could start a YouTube channel tomorrow. It's free. There's not many opportunities you get to make a crap load of money that start with zero investment. And I know it's zero because you already have a phone or a computer. I can see your chats. And you in the chat who read this stuff, you have to realize, I can't be hanging out in that neighborhood with these kind of people. They're affecting me negatively because they think they have no opportunity. Yeah, Toy, you're right. It is sad. And talk about working hard. I'm about to turn off here after going for, it'll be like 3 hours. And then I'm going to go home and kiss the wife and walk the dogs, grab something to eat. And we're going to do it all again at about 7:30 or 8. We're going to do a movie tonight, by the way. Going to do a movie. So don't tell me about you can't work hard enough. Yeah, you can. Ask the mods. Ask the mods. It's like, wait a second, man. This dude doing another show? Matter of fact, look at your president. Do you think he needs to be doing this? Knowing his background? So please tell me. Please tell me. You don't buy into that crap. It's sad. And I don't know how to convince. You know what's funny? Let me see if I can show you something. I want to show you something. I'm not going to go over it. I'm just going to show this to you. I was going to talk about this on Sunday. So if you want to be around on Sunday and understand where we're going, you're going to be able to take some notes. I figured I would spend a lot of time. Hold on, let me find this. Hold on, I'm getting it. I'm getting there. How you doing today? Everybody doing all right? Yeah, okay. Still scrolling. I got something saved here, and I had to find it. I thought I'm almost there. Okay, here we go. All right. I saw this post by a guy who calls himself the real estate god. Probably the most common question I get from younger guys, and I would say from older people as well, is how would you do it all again if you were my age? I get asked that. How would you start? I'll do you one better. Here's an extremely realistic game plan to get to $0 to $1 million in 5 years. I'm going to assume that you have a W-2 job, or roughly 22, you could be older, and have limited capital coming out of college. We're going to get you from 0 to $1 million in just 3 deals. And so I'm going to go over everything that this guy took the time to write to show you how you can go from 0 to whatever number you want very quickly. And I think the problem is not enough people understand this stuff is available. And there's so many people willing to help you understand and get the knowledge to make it happen. So I take the time. I piss people off because they don't like me talking about it, because they don't want you in a different situation. You understand, they're not pissed off at me. They're not mad that Barry's talking about prosperity. They're mad that you might listen. They're mad that you might not be commiserating with them, that you may change your life. That's what they're mad at. Misery loves company. It's time for you to kick misery to the curb. All right, here. Johnson said we'll have the vote for 50 years. I hope so. Snewed bill, free phones and service if you're on food stamps. GD Biddy, USDA meat inspectors, so not just EBT. Chris, hi Barry, could I ask for your contact email, please? showmail@fanfareshop.org. Fazul, EBT, Section 8, full med, cash to able bodies. Yep, we pay it all. Larry the Scrapper Guy, I am disabled, but I still work 20 hours a week with no EBT. Need positive so I can go back full time. You go. Larry the Scraper Guy again, need O positive kidney donor so I can go back. Okay, got you. Well, God bless you, and let's pray for you. Raven Kirkendall, is mass threat of theft reason for National Guard? Yes, sounds like it to me. About to be some serious unrest up in here. V. Shu, when I used to do SNAP eligibility in Texas, November was our biggest month, out the wazoo. Gimme. Yeah, getting towards the holidays. Mama Mima, I was on welfare for a short time in the 80s. We had a work requirement. Our EBT had restrictions. Now you can buy KFC with... Oh, goodness. But thank God you improved your life. Nikki P, I take a small amount of each paycheck to put towards micro stocks and crypto. I've made capital gains in the past year. Not a lot, but profit is profit. You got to start somewhere. And Lynn Hagel, it's not hard. It's not how you fall. It's how high you bounce back. Absolutely, I completely agree with that. All right, before I go, SV had he texted me. Just want to make sure what SV says here. I'll cover that tonight when we get together. All right, so I will see you guys tonight. We're going to do a movie. I haven't decided on which movie yet, but as soon as I do, I'll post it. We'll probably get together at 7:30, 8 o'clock. Talk to you guys soon. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do something or that there's no opportunity.